I really, there's many things that's obviously great about social media, and certainly us here at Giro, we kind of use it as our kind of main source of marketing because it's free.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we're paying for a little bit now, but I mean, it's basically free marketing, and it's a really immediate way of connecting with people. But in that creates this, in those, as I'm sure you've experienced many times, there can be those moments where you just create a lot of hype. And I hate hype. I can't stand it. And people get all excited. They repost stuff. And I'm not just talking about this, what we've seen this last week, which I will talk about, but it could be anything. And everyone gets so excited, and I'm always really cagey to kind of step back and go, whoa, like, hang on a minute. You can't commit yourself to something when you don't know what it is, and it's just a lot of hype and people are understanding. And this week, it was great to see such a overwhelmingly positive response from people globally. And we had, people using the Black Lives Matter hashtag. We had people using Blackout Tuesday, which was, kind of all with everyone's best intentions. But I wrestled with whether I should do this personally or what Giro did. I mean, so Giro didn't do a Blackout Tuesday because we just did a post, and I wanted those words to remain. But I didn't want to kind of get involved in kind of the hype of something, not to kind of do it a discredit or a disservice, because this has to last so much longer than just a post. And
exactly,
that was why I got on the phone with you or sent you a message. It was like, no, we need to be having conversations in a real and structured way of what can we do from here, and what is in, and just, I mean, the connection that you and I have, Leon, is cycling. So it's like, okay, in cycling, what is in my hands? What is in our hands here at Giro? We can do something to make sure that, one, this conversation continues, two, people get educated, and in our small little sphere of influence, at least we're playing our part for the long run. And that's not to disregard any other things that we feel passionate about, like women in cycling or grassroots, any of that. But this is so important because it goes way beyond just cycling. This is something that in generations to come can have a really big lasting impact. And I don't want it to be a post and then next week we just forget about it, which I'm so worried that so many people will do.
Yeah, I'm the same. I think yesterday was great, and it shows the support that this movement has, worldwide. But I can't remember who I saw post something or do a little video, and they were like, this can't be another ice bucket challenge.
No, exactly.
Which I thought was a really good analogy in saying, there's no point everybody doing it because everybody else does or feel like they have to do it.
Yeah.
If next week they're not gonna, and I'm not saying you have to post all the time, this and that, but it needs to be more than everybody going, I'm gonna post, this square, and then next week I'm gonna think I've done my bit. I think we have to carry on the conversation, I think, or else.
And truthfully, I mean, people were sharing reading lists and stuff, which is great. Like, I went straight on, and I was buying different books. I was, making sure we're getting different films because I want to educate myself. Yeah. But I wasn't going on then and posting about the fact that I'd ordered about it. Do you know what I mean? It's that kind of gratification. Yeah. It's like, no, this is for myself. And
exactly, yeah.
And I don't want this just to be. Truthfully, Leon, this is the first time when it comes to sort of race and the racism issue and systematic racism that we hear so much. This is the first time where it's felt incredibly real and relevant to myself, because it's always been something over there, if that makes sense. And I'm saying that, with knowing that is a very ignorant thing to say, but it's true. It's always been over there. And we see these things happening in the States, or we see things happening here, but not in the UK. We're sweet, right? And certainly not in the world I experience. But the reality is that's just not true.
No, and I've had this a lot of the chats I've had over the last few days, and I've said to people, there is a lot of finger pointing at the US, and there's a lot where we are light years ahead of the US, I think, here in the UK as a country, but there's a lot of things that need to change here still, and there's a hell of a lot that needs to change. One of my posts that I put across over the weekend was a poster that was first carried in, I think, 1963.
Yeah.
It's 57 years old. That poster that I posted that was carried, and they're still fighting the same fight in the US and don't seem to have got very much further. But I think we still need to change things here. There's a lot. I still experience it on a weekly or monthly basis. I mean, the New Balance campaign that I did for them last year for the London Marathon that I was involved in, we was at the expo for the first day at the Excel Centre, and we'd been given all the London Marathon kit, obviously because we were part of the campaign, and they wanted to do some photos and all the kind of stuff that they do during the campaign. And out of the whole of the expo, there's thousands of people in this shop part. The security guard accosted me and took me to one side and asked to see my receipt because I was wearing the kit. And I kind of laughed. At first, I thought, is this a prank? Is this like a joke? Because there was literally 20-foot, 30-foot posters of us around the expo of me wearing, the New Balance kit, and people carrying shopping bags that could have been full of stuff they'd nicked. He'd come to me because I was wearing the stuff and asked to see my receipt. So I mean, it still happens here, and I still get followed around. I've had it before.
To that, Leon? I feel. I mean, it sounds ridiculous, but I just feel the need to say I'm so sorry. That's awful.
And that's I think people do think that we are. It's okay here, but it isn't. And like I say, there's a list of things I can go through. I work around the corner from J Crew. I used to go and have a little look in that shop before work, and I work in a suit shop, but I wouldn't wear a suit to work. The same security guard would follow me around the shop. I went in a few days later in a suit, and he said hello to me. He didn't even recognize me, but because I had a suit on, he nodded at me and let me. And that's just, same color skin, but I wasn't wearing a hoodie and jeans and trainers. I was wearing a tie and a pair of shoes and a suit, So it's still, like I say, I've said to people, luckily I don't have to worry about getting shot in the back or,
And I mean, I think maybe that's where, because I mean, we're talking about very deep-rooted preconceptions and misconceptions, and for whatever reason, we know the reasons, but the fact that you've been singled out simply because you're a black man, like that is, I mean, the sad thing is that it's not an uncommon story, and that's the root of what I feel incredibly challenged about. It's like, well, you hear those stories, and it's always been, as I say, it's always been a little bit existential because it's never happened to me, and it's never, and I'm saying this, fully aware of what I'm saying. And you hear these stories and you're like, well, I mean, I would never behave like that. I would never choose to, judge somebody by the color of their skin. But again, that's not the point. And getting back to what we can do within our small community here in cycling, if we can play our part in seeing more people of color involved or on their way to get involved, then if that helps break down those barriers of race and breaks down those vicious preconceptions, then I think we're really on the way to something really good there. Does that make sense?
No, definitely. And I think we have to try and break the cycle of people going, well, I don't really like such and such because of the color of their skin, but you're okay. There is still a lot of that. Wow. And again, I'm working in retail, and I won't mention the shop because I don't want to, get you a liable case. And anybody that I know, that if I, say people to listen to this, they'll know who I'm speaking about. But I've had it before where managers have told me to follow other people of color around the shop, but they've never told me to follow a white person around the shop, or watch him. And I'm standing there going, do you know who, like, have you looked at me? I'm not, would you be doing the same thing to me if I come in here as a customer? But because you know me, You know, it's that kind of, well, you're all right because I work with you, but watch him. Yeah. So it happens. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I say, we've got a long way to go across the world. You know, it's not even just here in America. You know, you look at mainland Europe now, and the amount of far right, you know, political parties that are actually getting into power. It's on the rise everywhere.
I mean, I know that you. So I was just about to say, I know that you and I had very strong feelings, similar feelings, and, you know, same feelings around the nonsense that was leading up to Brexit. And some of the kind of like the like really nasty things that was coming out, and that kind of surgence of nationalism and all this, and that horrible sort of notion of us and them, which is just disgusting. I mean, and that's irregardless of race or whatever, but anything that's us and them is awful. It is all about just us. Anyway, but I remember we had this conversation, Lucy, like it was very difficult it is very difficult for Giro and sort of, you know, other brands to kind of choose a very political stance on something, because you can really, you know, sort of, you know, you can face a real backlash.
Yeah.
But what we're talking about now is not political. And that's
exactly.
the difference. What we're talking about now is about humanity. It is about just the privilege of being a human. And it's crazy we're even saying that, but that is the reality of it.
And that's one of the things that a lot of guys did, you know, 'cause it was guys that DM me and they were like, why are you making it political? And I'm like, well, if you've said that already, you've lost sight of what I'm trying to say. This is not political. It's like you say, it's humanity. It's a race. It's a human thing. It's not sitting on the side of a fence for Brexit or, you know, or not Brexit or, you know, Labour or Conservative. It's not that. It's about just treating people how every human being should be treated. You know, it's not.
There's no like for and against here. There's no like, oh, well, we'll weigh up one side of Brexit or the other. Oh, we'll weigh up one side of, you know, race or the other. Like that's just not, that's not what we're talking about. This is, if people feel that, you know, racism is gone, then they're wrong. And I think that's the thing. It's like, no, it's not as bad as you think it is. Well, actually, for some people it is. For some people it is. And for some people that we know, I mean, Leon, you've shared a couple of your stories, which I'm grateful for, but man, that sucks. Like, and that is kind of like, wow, I'm almost shocked. But then there's that reality. It's like, actually, that's not shocking, because you hear it happen so often.